Pass the salt cap. Red state Americans shouldn't have to subsidize lavish blue state social programs. Amen for that. Amen for that. For those of y'all that don't know what the salt tax is, the salt thing, what that is, because a lot of us don't live in, a lot of my listeners probably don't live in these blue states and aren't wealthy enough to take advantage of the salt thing. What the salt tax is where wealthy people, elites, they have a chance to deduct a lot of their expenses and stuff, and don't have to pay certain taxes with these leftist cities that have high taxes. So they don't have to suffer what they vote for. So the elite, that's why these elites are leftists, because they get tax breaks. And then they try to pretend like it's the Republicans that give them the tax breaks. No, it's stuff like this salt stuff that give them the tax breaks. So they vote for these lefty crazy policies because they know they don't have to deal with it. It's the average American citizen that has to pay these inflated taxes that these leftist cities and towns charge people. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to go into a little bit more detail. I don't know if I actually explained it or if I articulated it well or not, but we're going to go a little bit more deeper so y'all can have an understanding what this ridiculousness is. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news now. This comes from PJ Media, and they report, whenever Donald Trump is in the White House and Republicans control Congress, magnificent things happen. One of my favorites is that, seemingly out of the blue, they correct unfair policies that weren't even on my radar. That's exactly what happened when Congress passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, TCJA, in December 2017, and President Trump signed it into law. Yeah, you didn't pay attention until you got your check and noticed that you were saving money. And then they try again, and the leftists try to pretend like, oh, the tax cuts, the Trump tax cuts only help the wealthy, where in fact there's been, from the government own studies, from the government of accountability own study, show that it was the average American that was actually saving money, and actually the wealthy ended up paying a little bit more taxes. So that's another left-wing lie, another Democrat lie. But one of the things the TCJA did for the first time ever was to cap the amount of state and local taxes. A local tax or SALT taxpayers could deduct from their federal taxes at $10,000. At first, they were just taxing on everything. It was like, I don't know if it was unlimited, but pretty darn close to unlimited. They could do a tax write-off on with the SALT tax. Understand what a massive shift towards fairness this change was for low tax states. So that means that the elites had to pay their fair share for once. Isn't that what the Democrats want? But of course, the Democrats are the ones that's for the SALT tax, right? But prior to the SALT cap, lefty elites would live in prior to the SALT cap, lefty elites who lived in lefty elitist blue states could vote for every lavish socialist policy they favored to be enacted by their local and or state governments. Naturally, this drove up state and local taxes, income, sales, and property to obscene levels. But the wealthy leftists in these places didn't have to worry about that. They could go ahead and deduct the unlimited amount of state and local taxes they paid from their income when they filed their federal taxes. So, okay, so it was unlimited. I didn't know. I know it's pretty close to unlimited. So it was unlimited. They could deduct. So they really didn't have to live by what they voted for. As an example, if a liberal in New York or California earned $200,000 and paid $35,000 of that in state and local taxes, wow, that's a lot. She could adjust her gross income to $175,000 when she calculated her federal tax bill, which would then be based on a lower amount. So it'll be 175. You'd be basically saying you made that year, which is put you in a lower tax bracket, is what we're talking about here. Then she can enjoy life in her blue state and fully subsidize illegal alien families, sopping up public resources, trash pickup, and haul to dump for her, 6 months of paid maternity, paternity leave, electric buses, fancy bike paths no one will use, and every other feel-good liberal public money suck you can think of. So what if the pregnant waitress in Mississippi and HVAC technician, I used to be an HVAC technician. I have my universal certification. Those people in HVAC know what that means. That's what I did when I was in the military. And the HVAC technician in Alabama have to make up the difference when they pay their federal taxes. Okay, so is that fair share? Is that the fair share you're talking about, leftists? You see, every tax dollar liberals pay to fund their blue state and towns' extravagant social spending reduces the amount of taxes they pay to the federal government. Thus, people who are smart enough to live in low tax states, precisely because they don't believe in lavish, expensive programs, wind up paying a higher rate of federal tax because they don't have hefty state and local taxes to deduct from their income when calculating what they pay to Uncle Sam. I'm sorry, y'all, that I'm reading this pretty messed up. It's like the punctuation on this is messed up, so it's kind of messing me up the way I read this. To be fair, President Trump himself was born and bred in a blue city and state, and he did not lead the way on establishing the SALT cap. When he was campaigning for re-election in fall of 2024, he even went so far to say that he would support raising the cap or even getting rid of it. But now, as House Republicans wrangle among themselves to pass his one big, beautiful bill, they call it the OBBB, Trump is promoting its presence in the budget. Trump traveled to Capitol Hill on Tuesday to urge Republicans to stop squabbling and pass his OBBB. There, he addressed the so-called SALT caucus, a group of blue state Republicans who were holding out for a big increase in the SALT cap. They already rejected an increase of existing cap of 10,000 to 30,000 as too low. Wow. Causing fiscal conservative Republicans from low tax states to drop anchor on the bill's progress. So that's what happened. These sneaky people try to increase the SALT. According to sources in the meeting, Trump specifically told the SALT caucus to let it go. NBC reports, while Trump directed his comments at all the lawmakers negotiating a higher SALT cap, he singled out moderate Rep. Mike Lawler of New York, who is considering a bid for governor in Trump's former home state. Quote, "End it, Mike, just end it," Trump said, according to two of the lawmakers. Notably, when Trump endorsed Lawler this month for re-election to his battleground House seat, he touted Lawler's efforts to increase the SALT cap. Whatever his inborn native New Yorker biases, Trump is now making the right call. The SALT cap should be here to stay. I agree. Because if you don't like the lower taxes, if you don't like the higher taxes, you should talk to your politicians and get them to lower the taxes, not by a federal government bailout. It's only fair that if wealthy elites and affluent states want to profligate public policies, I don't even know what that word means, I'm going to be honest with you, they should be the ones to pay for them. Amen. I agree. You voted for it. You got to live with it. Not the thrifty, practical, hardworking residents of lean, small government states. You hear terms like SALT cap bandied about all the time in the media, but only PJ Media brothers to explain to you what is at stake. Okay, well, that's just the advertisement for them. Sorry about my struggle reading, y'all. I swear the punctuation on this got me messing up. But y'all get the point. I'm all for assault cap. You should, like I said, you should be able to live with what you voted for. You voted for this, you have to live with it. If you don't want to pay those higher taxes, elites, then put in people that don't want to raise your taxes. You don't need the SALT thing for that. You just need to work with the state and get your state to lower your taxes. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.